The grass felt cold against her skin, but the fire inside her body burned like a storm. Asha's breath came in broken bursts, her ribs throbbing from the brutal kicks she'd endured. Dirt clung to her face, and blood traced a silent path from her lip to her chin as if marking her defeat, but she refused to accept that word. She had been hunted for miles, chased by men who believed she shouldn't exist, men who thought fear could silence truth. The ropes she once carried, ropes meant for gathering wood, now looked like chains of fate beside her. The world had narrowed into the pounding of her heartbeat and the distant echo of mocking laughter from the men standing around her. One of them leaned closer, his shadow falling over her like an eclipse. "You should have stayed silent," he snarled. But Asha raised her head slowly, her eyes blazing, not with weakness, but with a promise. If this was where she died, she would make sure someone paid for it. The man didn't like the fire in her gaze. Fear disguised as rage flickered across his face. He lifted his weapon, a rusted machete, and pointed it toward her throat. The other men fell silent. Even the wind stilled. Asha tried to push herself up, but her arm trembled beneath her weight. Her muscles screamed. Her vision blurred. Yet she forced herself upright inch by inch, fueled by memories, her sister being dragged away, her mother crying, her father buried without justice. She was born into silence, but somewhere along the way she had chosen rebellion. "Kill her," another man ordered coldly. The machete rose higher. Asha inhaled deeply, not in fear but in calculation. She didn't know how long she had left, but she knew one thing: she would not die lying down. Using every ounce of strength, she lunged not forward, but sideways, grabbing a broken piece of wood hidden in the grass. Her fingers wrapped around it like fate had placed it there. The man reacted too late. Asha slammed the jagged wood into his shin. He screamed, stumbled backward, dropping the machete. Suddenly the world exploded into chaos. Two men ran toward her, but she rolled, grabbed the machete from the dirt, and swung, not perfectly, not gracefully, but desperately. Steel met flesh. A cry tore through the air. Blood splattered her hand. Her whole body shook, but her eyes showed no regret. Survival wasn't brutality, it was necessity. One man kicked her ribs again, forcing her onto her back, but now she had a weapon, even if she barely knew how to wield it. He lunged. She slashed upward, slicing across his arm. He howled and stepped back. Her breath was ragged, her wounds severe, yet something unbreakable awakened inside her. Something ancient. Something primal. She staggered to her feet, using a nearby rock to balance. The trees around her stood like silent witnesses, the sky growing darker as if mourning or warning. The last man, the leader, looked at her differently now. Where once he saw prey, now he saw a warrior. He spat on the ground. "You think you can fight us? Fight the whole system." Asha wiped the blood from her face and stared at him with a steady, burning calm. "I don't need to fight all of you," she whispered. "Just one at a time." He charged. She didn't hesitate. Their bodies collided like thunder. The blade clashed against bone, the sound echoed like metal against destiny. His fist connected with her jaw, stars burst behind her eyelids, but she didn't fall. Not again. Not after everything. She ducked the next blow and sliced across his shoulder. His scream tore through the silent wilderness. He stumbled, the machete slipping from his hand as he fell to his knees, breath heavy and broken. Asha stood over him, trembling, bleeding, exhausted, yet undefeatable. He looked up, fear replacing arrogance. "You're just one woman," he gasped. Asha tightened her grip on the blade. "And yet I'm still standing." She didn't kill him, not yet. Instead, she turned and walked away, limping toward the forest. The men she had defeated moaned behind her, stunned and humiliated. Every step hurt. Every breath burned. But she moved forward because she had to. She wasn't finished. This wasn't victory, this was survival. Temporary. Fragile. Dangerous. As she disappeared into the thick shadows of the forest, one truth pulsed louder than her heartbeat: they would come again. They would hunt her. They would rage at the fact that she refused to go. But the world was about to learn something they never expected. Asha wasn't running because she was scared. She was running because she was preparing. And the next time they met, she wouldn't just survive. She would fight. She would win. She would rise. Because sometimes, one wounded woman becomes the storm that changes everything. Snow dusted the rooftops of Willow Creek the morning everything changed, a soft white blanket hiding the scars of a town built on secrets, grudges, and whispered sins. Inside a lonely wooden cabin on the far edge of town, Clara Bennett stood beside a crackling fire, her white dress glowing in the warm light as she stared at the man lying flat on the floor beneath her, Rhett Walker, the most feared and respected rancher for 50 miles. His voice, usually firm and unshakable, now trembled with frustration and something else, fear. "Don't do that," he growled, his voice low and warning, but Clara's hands kept moving, stubborn and trembling with the weight of everything she had kept silent for years. "Rhett, I have to," she whispered, breath shaky, her fingers tightly wrapped around a wrapped wooden box she'd found buried beneath the floorboards earlier that morning while preparing the cabin for Christmas. It wasn't supposed to be there. No one was supposed to find it. But fate had a cruel habit of uncovering what people tried to bury. Rhett shut his eyes as if the sight of the box burned him. "Clara, listen to me." His jaw clenched. "Some truths don't need to see daylight. Some things, once opened, change everything." But Clara was tired of the half-truths, the silent tension, the nights she woke to find him staring out the window gripping his gun as if expecting ghosts. She had fallen in love with him months ago, not because he was strong or brave, but because she sensed the brokenness he tried so desperately to hide. And now she finally knew why. Because inside that simple wooden box wasn't just paper or trinkets, it was evidence of something dark, something that tied Rhett not only to his past, but to the death of the old sheriff, who happened to be Clara's father. The air inside that cabin grew heavy as Rhett struggled to sit up, grabbing Clara's arm, his breath warm against her skin, his tone desperate. "Clara, please. I warned you. That box ain't meant for you." But she pulled her arm free, not forcefully, but with the quiet strength of someone who had already decided her fate. "My father died without answers, and I lived without knowing why," she whispered, her voice breaking. "If this box holds the truth, I'll face it." Rhett's eyes flickered, not with anger, but with a grief older than winter, older than regret. "It will destroy you," he murmured. "And it will destroy us." The wind howled outside, rattling the cabin door as if the town itself sensed what was about to unfold. Tears gathered in Clara's eyes, not from fear, but from heartbreak. "Then tell me," she begged. "Before the rest of the world does." Silence. long, heavy. Then Rhett finally spoke, not like the rancher everyone feared, but like a man haunted by every decision he wished he could undo. Your father wasn't just the sheriff, Clara, he said, voice barely audible. He led the land syndicate, the men who forced ranchers out, who burned property, who killed families. And when he tried doing the same to my land, I stopped him. Clara froze, her breath crushed in her lungs. Stopped him. Rhett swallowed, eyes full of torment. He drew first. I swear it. I defended myself. But the town, they worshipped him. No one would have believed me. Clara's hand shook violently around the box. She wanted to scream, to run, to collapse. But instead she whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" Rhett's voice cracked for the first time she'd ever heard. Because I didn't want to be the worst thing that ever happened to you. Her tears fell then, slow, silent, devastating. Rhett reached for her again, but she stepped back. Not out of hatred, but out of shock. Out of grief. I loved him, she whispered. And I loved you. Rhett looked like a man walking into a storm he knew he couldn't survive. You still do, he said softly. And that's what scares you. Clara turned toward the Christmas tree, its warm glow mocking the cold truth hanging in the air. The wooden box felt heavier now, not just with secrets, but with consequence. Then, against Rhett's trembling warning, she opened it. The sound was soft, but the impact was thunder. Inside were letters, maps signed with her father's seal, payment records, and sworn testimonies, proof of corruption deeper than anyone would have dared imagine. Proof that town leaders, bankers, and judges worked with him. Proof that his death wasn't the tragedy Willow Creek mourned, but the justice it never acknowledged. Clara stared at the contents, then slowly looked up. Rhett, this isn't just about you. His expression hardened. No. It's about all of them. Then came the moment, the one that would change everything. Clara stood, walked to the window, and held the box where the whole world could see if she wanted to. I'm going to expose them, she breathed. The truth needs to come out. Rhett stood, finally steady, eyes fierce, not against her, but with her. Then you'd best be ready for a war, he said. Because once you take that box into town, the whole place will shake. Clara looked back at him, hurt in her eyes, but fire in her spirit. Let it shake.